Have you ever wondered what your imagination can truly create? What if I told you that the power to build magical worlds, solve incredible problems, and connect with others lies within your mind? Join us on a journey where creativity knows no bounds, and every idea sparks a new adventure. Are you ready to unlock your creative potential and see the world from a whole new perspective? Room 4B was a normal classroom, or at least it had been normal before the day imagination took over. Ms. Hazel, the teacher, always tried to make lessons fun, but today she had a surprise up her sleeve. She wheeled in a giant cardboard box covered in painted stars and swirling colors and placed it right in the middle of the room. "Good morning, Room 4B," Miss Hazel greeted them, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Today, we're going to unlock the magic of imagination." The students exchanged curious glances. Adam raised his hand. "Is there a magic potion in there?" "Not exactly," Miss Hazel chuckled. "But this box will help us explore something even more powerful: imagination. I will teach you 3 secrets about imagination that can help you express yourselves, understand others, and maybe even have some fun along the way." She opened the box and out floated 3 giant shimmery words: form, connection, and perspective. The students gasped as the words danced through the air. With a wave of her hand, Miss Hazel tapped on the word form, which began to spin and glow. "Imagination has many forms. Today I want you to pick one and make it your own." Suddenly, an invisible force swept through the classroom. Pencils started to draw on their own, crayons organized themselves by color, and paints opened up, bubbling with eagerness. The students looked at each other in awe. "Choose any form of creativity you like," said Miss Hazel. "Painting, drawing, singing, even pretending. Let your imagination run wild." Lily, who was shy but loved to draw, decided to turn her notebook into a magical forest filled with talking trees and orange-colored rivers. Her pencil danced across the page, transforming white paper into a world of leafy creatures and sparkling waterfalls. When she was done, Ms. Hazel smiled. "That, Lily, is imagination taking form. You've created a world on paper where everything can be whatever you want it to be." "Can I add a dragon with purple wings and, a unicorn horn?" Lily asked. "Absolutely," Miss Hazel beamed. "And don't forget to give it a name." Meanwhile, Noah, who loved to drum on his desk, took it up a notch. He imagined he was playing a magical set of drums that made sounds of different animals, instead of just thump and bang. Every time he hit his imaginary drums, the sound of an elephant, a lion, or a bird filled the room. He even created a rhythm that made the entire class laugh and cheer along. "Imagination can take any form you want," said Miss Hazel. "It doesn't have to look or sound like everyone else's." Miss Hazel turned to the second word, connection, and gave it a tap. It burst into 1,000 tiny sparkles, which rained down on the students, tickling them and making them giggle. "Imagination helps us connect with each other," Miss Hazel explained. "It's like an invisible bridge that lets us understand one another, even if we don't see things the same way." To show them what she meant, she handed each student a small piece of paper with a single word on it. Words like courage, friendship, adventure, and curiosity floated around. Each student had to think of a way to bring their word to life using their imagination, then share it with the class. Adam got the word, adventure, He closed his eyes and imagined he was an explorer, discovering a hidden jungle. "I see vines hanging everywhere and a river with sparkling clear water," he said, eyes widening with excitement. "And a giant golden statue peeking out from the trees." Lily's word was friendship. She imagined two magical creatures, a tiny green dragon and a talking fox, meeting in her enchanted forest. "They're best friends, even though they're so different," she said. "The dragon can breathe fire and the fox can turn invisible, so they protect each other." As each student shared, Ms. Hazel encouraged them to ask questions and add on to each other's stories. Soon Adam's jungle was filled with Lily's magical animals, and Noah's animal sound drums echoed through the trees. They had woven a giant interconnected story, using each other's ideas, turning Room 4B into a world only they could understand. "See?" Ms. Hazel said. "By using our imagination, we've built connections between each other's worlds. We've created a story together that connects all of us, even though we each had different ideas." Finally, Ms. Hazel tapped on the last word, perspective. The word floated to each student, whispering, "Look at me from a new angle," as it circled their heads. "Imagination lets us see things from new perspectives," Ms. Hazel explained. "It's like putting on a pair of magic glasses. Suddenly, you can see the world from someone else's point of view." To test this, she handed out funny, oversized glasses to each student and instructed them to imagine they were someone completely different. "Think of a character you'd never normally be," she suggested. "It could be anything. A grumpy old cat, a brave pirate, even a talking sandwich." Amelia, a quiet girl who loved animals, decided to be a feisty chipmunk who didn't like anyone in her tree. "Get off my branch!" she shouted, pretending to scowl. "I'm storing nuts here, and I don't need any interruptions." The class burst out laughing as Amelia's chipmunk wobbled around, acting grouchy about every little thing. "Now imagine," said Miss Hazel, "if you were a squirrel visiting the chipmunk's tree, how would you feel?" Lucas, who chose to be the squirrel, scratched his head. "Well, I'd feel annoyed. I just wanted to say hi, and this chipmunk is so... Exactly," Miss Hazel laughed. "Imagination can help us understand different perspectives. We can see how someone else feels, even if we don't always agree with them. Imagination lets us walk in their shoes, or in this case, their paws." They took turns putting on the glasses and becoming characters they'd never thought of before. A librarian giraffe who kept losing her glasses, a superhero snail with a cape made of leaves, a whale who only sang in opera style. Each student saw how, with just a little imagination, they could create whole new worlds and understand completely new ways of thinking. To celebrate, Ms. Hazel decided they would hold a grand Imagination Day parade, right there in the classroom. Each student had to bring their imaginary character to life and introduce them to the class. Lily paraded her dragon with a unicorn horn named Sparkles around the room, carefully describing the magic spells she'd invented. Noah, his desk drums ready, banged out the jungle beat as Adam led the way, pretending to cut through vines and climb imaginary trees. When it was Amelia's turn, she puffed out her cheeks, narrowed her eyes, and stomped around as the grumpiest chipmunk anyone had ever seen. Lucas, who was acting as the friendly squirrel, cautiously followed, offering her an acorn with a goofy smile. The class howled with laughter. Finally, Miss Hazel brought out her own character, a juggling cat named Zog from the planet Glitteria. She spun around, flinging stardust into the air and showing off her zero-gravity juggling skills. When the parade ended, everyone bowed, feeling a little more connected, a little more creative, and very proud of the world they'd created together. "Imagination can take any form," Miss Hazel said, closing the lid on the magic box. "It helps us connect, even when we're different, and it lets us see from other perspectives, so we can understand each other better. That's why imagination is such a powerful thing. It lets you be anything you want to be, and take others along with you." The students clapped and cheered, and even after the magic words faded, the spirit of imagination stayed in room 4B. They'd spent the day exploring, laughing, and creating a story that only they could tell. And for the first time, they realized that their imaginations were the most magical tools they'd ever have. And in room 4B, imagination would live on forever, long after the cardboard box was tucked away in the corner, waiting for the next adventure.